Aegon the Unworthy legitimized all his bastards on his deathbed. Inevitably, the greatest of these, Daemon Blackfyre, declared himself the rightful heir and ignited yet another war for the crown. After much bloodshed, Daemon was killed by an alliance of his half-brothers on the red grass field. All the same, his descendants continued to threaten the Targaryens until half a century later, when Barristan the Bold slew Malus the Monstrous on the Stepstones, extinguishing Daemon's line. Aegon, fourth of his name, is remembered by history as the Unworthy. Quite a feat considering the other kings of Westeros. But even in a family not known for equanimity, Aegon stands out for spiteful incompetence. He tore apart the realm simply because he couldn't rule himself, much less Westeros. As a young prince, Aegon's wit made him beloved at court and won him forgiveness for youthful indiscretions. But the cold steel of the Iron Throne didn't temper his passions. King Aegon proclaimed that if he had to spend his days being pricked by 1,000 swords, he'd spend his nights pricking others with his one. Lords sent their daughters from court so they would not catch the king's eye, whilst other lords summoned the daughters to court, so they would. The only woman in whom he took no pleasure was his sister and wife, Nerys, even after she gave him a son and heir, Daeron. Perhaps Aegon was jealous of her supposed love for his brother, the legendary hero Prince Aemon, the Dragon Knight. Aegon was most certainly jealous of him, not of his bravery or honor, but how young maidens swooned and old cried at the songs about him. But most likely, Aegon disregarded his wife and son because he chafed at restraints of any kind, be they the bonds of marriage, or patrimony, or even reason. When Prince Daeron objected to his father's foolish plan to invade Dorne, Aegon incited a lick-spittle lord to accuse the queen of adultery with Aemon, making Daeron illegitimate. Prince Aemon defended the queen's honor in trial by combat. But while the lord's claim publicly died with him, no sword can kill a rumor. Out of spite and pique, Aegon had seeded doubt into his own heir's claim to the throne, which bore bitter fruit with the birth of another son, the bastard Daemon Waters, by the king's own cousin. Raised in the Red Keep on account of his mother's royal blood, Daemon grew tall and powerful, and excelled at all the martial skills that men wrongly value in leaders. Instead of protecting his own heir from a rival, Aegon knighted Daemon at 12, and shocked the realm by bestowing on him the Conqueror's own Valyrian steel sword. He even let the boy renounce his common bastard's name and take the Targaryen sword's name for his own, becoming Daemon Blackfyre. Still, though a name can change, blood can't. And Daeron was Aegon's only true-born son, until he wasn't. On his deathbed, Aegon forever earned his epithet by legitimizing all his bastards, from the base-born sons of whores to the great bastards of noble ladies, including Daemon. Fittingly, Aegon's last act was to thrust himself into the realm and seed chaos. A Targaryen without self-restraint may have led Westeros to the brink of ruin, but the Highborn pushed it over. Though Daeron governed justly and wisely, correcting the worst excesses of his father's rule, many lords had grown rich off these excesses and did not approve of Daeron's reforms, particularly the peace he struck with Dorne. The malcontents rallied to Daemon and whispered that he should be king instead of his brother, whom, thanks to Aegon, many suspected was a bastard. At first, Daemon indulged these lords out of courtesy and vanity, but over time their grievances and flattery wore down his objections, along with any sense of obligation to the half-brother who had granted him lands and a wife. Daemon agreed to claim the throne by right of birth, and more importantly, arms. A wheel with two hubs will not turn, and a kingdom with two kings will burn, as the saying goes. Not that such a cost ever stopped anyone with even the remotest claim and opportunity, much less House Blackfyre. Their rebellions consumed tens of years and thousands of lives. First Daemon's own, then his son, Daemon II, who reigned for a night. Then another son, Haegon,
crowned by Bittersteel, another legitimized Great Bastard who had founded the Golden Company to support the Blackfire claim. When Haegon was executed, Bittersteel crowned Haegon's eldest son, Daemon III, who in turn was slain by their Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, Sir Duncan the Tall. Finally, Meleys the Monstrous fell to Sir Barristan Selmy in the War of the Ninepenny Kings, and the Blackfire Rebellion ended with the extinction of the entire line. As is appropriate, fire is only black when it is burned to ash. Perhaps that was the true problem with the Targaryens. The blood of the dragon runs hot, and fire consumes. Perhaps what Westeros needs is a ruler born not from fire, but from snow.
Aegon Targaryen's Blackfire and Visenya's Dark Sister disappeared in Daemon Blackfire's rebellion.
A simple word for a simple act. And so, of course, men complicate it. A child born to a wife is a gift from the gods. A child born to a mistress or an obedient serving girl is a bastard, unworthy of its father's name. So instead, we call the children after the land where they were born. Flowers in the Reach and Hill in the Westerlands, Stone in the Vale and Storm in the Stormlands, rivers in the Riverlands and waters in the Crownlands, Pike in the Iron Islands, Snow in the north, and in Dorne, sand. By these names, everyone can recognize a bastard, even if his own father won't. Though sometimes a father with too much gold and daughters will ask the king to legitimize a bastard son and give him his family name. If his wife objects, the next one does not. But sometimes the gods play their jokes, and later his wife will give him a true-born son of their own. When this happens, well, children die all the time. So do fathers. Even the beautiful Targaryens had bastards when brothers tired of their sisters. Many took the name Blackfire after the conqueror's own sword. When Aegon the Unworthy legitimized all his bastards on his deathbed, they rose up against his true-born heir. Westeros bled. Dorne yawned. For most of Westeros, the Blackfire Rebellion only proved what they already knew. Bastards are treacherous, born of lust and shame. But here in Dorne, lust is not shameful. We know that bastardy does not make a man more treacherous than another. Man does not need the help.
Most boys dream of becoming a Kingsguard. Rich boys from good families get a chance. Smart boys stay at home and sing songs about them instead, opening purses and thighs, because the Kingsguard isn't really good for much else. Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight may be the most famous Kingsguard who ever lived. How did he die? Defending Aegon the Unworthy from the brothers of a man whom Aegon fed to his dogs. The man's crime? Sleeping with one of the many mistresses Aegon wasn't using. And the man was one of Aegon's own Kingsguard.
Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight, who wielded the Valyrian sword Dark Sister. He died defending King Aegon the Unworthy from assassins, though the king had insulted Aemon throughout his reign and had well earned his fate, because Prince Aemon had sworn our oath. Beside the name of Sir Gawain Corbury, who duelled the Targaryen bastard Daemon Blackfire for an hour during the Battle of the Redgrass Field, though outmatched and grievously wounded, because Sir Gawain had sworn our oath.
But even without our dragons, we were still the blood of old Valyria, which proved just as dangerous. One of my foolish ancestors didn't see what separated his bastards from our family proper and legitimized them all on his deathbed. Adopting the name Blackfire, the bastards proved their nature and tried to seize their father's kingdom. And when they failed, their sons tried. When the sons failed, their grandsons tried, until finally Sir Barristan the Bold, Knight of the Kingsguard, slew Meleys the Monstrous in the War of the Ninepenny Kings, ending the last of the Blackfire line. Ultimately, without our dragons and with our blood diluted by commoners, we failed to see the greatest threat growing under our noses.